This week's episode of the Rural Woman Podcast is brought to you by the patrons of the Rural Woman Podcast. This amazing group of individuals contribute financially to the Rural Woman Podcast to ensure the stories of women in agriculture hit your earbuds each and every week. Want to join them in supporting the stories of women in agriculture while getting access to extended episodes, patron-only episodes, and other great perks? Head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more about how you can become a patron through Patreon. Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman Podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman Podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rural Woman Podcast and part 2 of my conversation with Kacee Bohle. If you caught last week's episode, you already know that Kacee is a fourth-generation farm kid, homeschool mom, and powerhouse behind AGRIMINDS, a coaching platform created specifically for people in ag who are ready to grow with purpose and clarity. In this second half of our conversation, we dig deeper into the challenges of leadership in agriculture, especially for women, and what it really means to lead in a way that feels authentic. Kacee shares how coaching plays a key role in helping folks navigate both personal growth, financial stress, and how the stories we tell ourselves about money can shape everything from our decision-making to our mental health. She also walks us through her AGRIMINDS program, a transformational experience that helps agricultural professionals shift mindset, build community, and find confidence in both their business and personal lives. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out or just stuck in the daily grind, Kacee's insights and wisdom will leave you feeling empowered and seen. If you missed part 1, make sure you go back and give it a listen. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the Rural Woman Podcast so you do not miss an episode. Without further ado, my friends, here's part 2 of my conversation with Kacee. Kacee Bohle, welcome back to the Rural Woman Podcast for part 2. How are you?
So good. I am so pumped for the rest of this conversation.
I am too. My brain feels itchy, and that's when I know, like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to dive in to all of these topics. So we left off talking about burnout and boundaries. I want to talk about leadership in agriculture, and I know this is something that you are very passionate about. What are some common leadership challenges that you are seeing amongst ag professionals, whether that's in the field or behind a desk in agriculture? What are some of the common challenges that you're seeing?
I think there's several challenges. I think the very first one is most people just don't know what leadership is, nor how to go about it. And I think that myself included, right? Like, I was the same person, and I've seen a lot of my clients, especially females, thinking they have to show up a certain way or it doesn't count or it's not going to be effective. And I'm strictly speaking, from the female perspective here, because we talked about stereotypes in the last part where, like, we just assume that if you're a woman in ag, this is the box that you fit. You're either a farmer's wife, or you're this like just macho butch woman who's just like, you know what I mean? Like there's not an in between. And there is so many women in ag who are in that in between of like, do I have to be manly because I'm a woman in ag? Do I have to talk a certain way? Do I have to dress a certain way? Do I have to act a certain way? And so we don't know what we're supposed to do. There's not ever been a rule book. We're just kind of figuring it out as we go. And I think every woman is figuring it out as they go, depending on the role that they play and like kind of just like dipping their toe on certain things of like, is this acceptable? And then they retract. Is this acceptable? And then they retract, right? And so when I think about leadership, I used to think leadership meant getting in the front, everybody follow me, I'm leading the way. And I did that for several years of my career. And I was like this alpha female who was like, get in line or shut up. Right. Like that's how it was. Like I felt like I had to be bossy or I wasn't going to get taken seriously. And that was both to my female counterparts and to my male counterparts. And, you know, we talked about a couple of B words in the last part of this. Like, I don't know maybe you have to beep this part out, but like, I felt like I had to be a bitch in order to be successful in this industry. And that was just not the case. That's not actually leadership. And it wasn't until I went through a leadership program through Purdue Extension that I realized that leadership actually has nothing to do with that. Leadership is being in the back sometimes and being quiet and empowering other people to step forward and overcome challenges. Leadership is doing stuff that's really uncomfortable and sometimes unpopular, right? And so I think that those are some of those big challenges around leadership within the industry, especially for women, is like, we don't know what we're doing, let alone how to lead, let alone what we're supposed to say or what we're supposed to wear. Like there's so many challenges that everything just kind of gets thrown into this bucket, this whirlwind of, I don't know, I'm just going to wing it. So that's probably the biggest thing that I see is like, we don't know what's appropriate. We don't know what's right. We don't know what we want sometimes. And so we just let other people tell us what we should be doing, whether it's right or wrong, we don't know. But I think sometimes that's what happens is we just fall in line. And so we don't know that we have the choice to be a leader, let alone how to go about it.
Right. When I'm hearing this, and like you had said, there's the notion that to be a leader, you have to be aggressive or you have to be a bitch or whatever it is. But then there's also that caveat. Then it's like some people look at you as aggressive or they look at you like a bitch because you've taken those steps to move forward while others had sat back and said, I don't know what to do. And then there's that stereotype, right, of these women who have stepped forward and have put themselves out there. Well, then they're all of these things because we're still sitting back here, still wondering what we're supposed to do. And it's so complicated. And it's not even just in agriculture in general. It's women in general. Like we could have a whole other podcast about all of the things in leadership and in just being a woman in the world today. But when I look at women in agriculture, and from my perspective, the women that I view as leaders, this is from my perspective, they have taken those small steps forward. They haven't been big. They haven't been fancy. They've just been small and they've been consistent. And to me, that consistency shows leadership for me, that even though if they've been knocked back a few steps along the way because of adversity or because things had happened and didn't work out that way, but they got back up and they kept trying, to me, that's a leader. I'm curious to know, in your personal definition of a leader, what does a leader look like for you?
Yeah, well, I always thought, again, that leadership was this, I need to step in the front. I need to get to the front of the line as quickly as possible. I need to lead the group. I need to be in charge. I need to be the boss. And I got it wrong for so many years. And I think that my reputation was hindered because of it. I think my mood and my spirit was dampened because of it, because I wasn't living in a true, authentic way. And so I think leadership can look really different depending on the situation, depending on the person. And so I don't know if I want to give it a definition, if I'm honest with you, because I think it can mean so many different things. All I know is that the way I thought I was leading was right, and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And so I knew that that's not what leadership was. I knew what it wasn't. But again, I don't know if I want to give a definition because I'm still figuring that out too. And even though I've been certified as a leadership coach, I literally have certifications in this. I think it can show up in a lot of different ways. And each of those ways can be really powerful and positive.
Absolutely. I love that. No definition is the best definition. Like you said, because it can show up in so many different ways. And the way that I view it can be different from how you viewed it or somebody else. So I love that. Something that I think often hinders growth in leadership and in agriculture on the farm really often hinders on productivity. As farmers out in the field, you have to be productive. You have to get the crop in. You have to get the animals to market. You have to keep doing all of these box checking things in order, I guess, to turn a profit, to make a living. How do you speak to someone who is really hesitant about making changes to their operation in terms of decisions that take away from productivity, take away from the bottom line, that are more of those personal growth things? How do you convince that person that these things matter just as much as the grain in the bin?
I love the way that you teed this question up because I think it's going to show the power of what a coach does. So we talked about the difference between a coach, a consultant, a counselor, a mentor, a peer in the last part. And my role as a coach is not to convince. It's not to advise. It's not to say this is what's right or wrong. My job as a coach is to get really curious about, where did this come from? What makes you think you have to make a change? Why do you want to make a change? What are the pros and the cons of making the change? And letting them explore that. And I think that we don't have we don't have very many people coming at it from that angle in this industry, because like we talked about earlier, everybody wants to solve. Everybody wants to see something instantly. We don't have a lot of people saying, why do you need to do that? Where'd this come from? Who told you that that had to happen? Is this something that you actually want to do? If so, let's talk through it, right? And so I get really curious and I ask the right questions to help them figure out what they need to do.
I love that. And to get clear on the why. And why is such a powerful question. I'm curious, how many people have you talked out of doing something that they thought they had to do?
Oh my gosh, so many. I actually talked myself out of doing something this morning. And so I'm going through a coaching certification right now to get to the next level of coaching. And so I'm in this training program, and every couple of sessions, somebody has to play the coach and somebody has to play the client. And we do kind of like a role play. And then everybody else on the call evaluates the session. Mostly they're evaluating the coach. Today I was the client and I had to come up with something to be coached on. And it's not something that I don't really have a whole lot to be coached on right now. Like I don't have a need. And so I felt like I got to come up with a problem, right? Like I have to come up with something for the coach to help me solve, knowing it's not the coach's responsibility to solve anything. Like I know this as a coach, I'm trained as a coach, but in my client mindset, I was like, I gotta tee this up right. And so I get into the call and I said, everybody else around me is talking about goals. Like this is a legitimate thing that I came to the call needing coached on. I said, I help my clients day in and day out set goals, work through goals, accomplish goals, then reset goals again. I help all these people setting goals. And I said, and I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite because right now I don't really have any goals. Like New Year's came around and I was like, okay, here's some things I want to like work towards or work on, but I have not actually set any goals. And I felt really strange about that. And so the coach was asking me, she's just like, so what do you want to set goals around? And I said, I don't know. Like, that's my problem. Like, I'm good. And she just gave me the space to just talk out loud and process out loud. And by the end of the call, we had realized I don't actually need to set any goals right now. The only reason I felt pressured to set goals was because of this external noise, this extrinsic feeling of like all these people kind of making me think I needed to have a problem to be solved, or that there had to be some kind of chaos happening, or there has to be something I have to strive for. And me kind of looking at myself going, Kacee, like, it's okay to not be working on something. It's fine to just be. I'm not battling burnout right now. I'm not battling a work-life balance issue. I'm not battling with anything in my marriage. My kids are healthy. Like, I'm good. And a part of me felt really strange admitting that out loud, because what are people going to think? Oh, great. She's this person who has no problems. Must be nice. I didn't want anybody to know that I'm good, because that felt like something's not right? Like, who is this chick? She's not right in the head that she's got everything going out right for her, So I felt really strange admitting that out loud. And then I was like, cut out the BS, Kacee. Are you good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, great. Move on, right? Like, there didn't have to be anything that I have to dwell on. There doesn't always have to be a problem. And I talked myself out, or I guess I coached myself through this obstacle I had, which was this desire to set a goal because it was a check in the box to say that's what I'm doing. When actually, I don't have any goals that I need to set right now, and that's okay.
Kacee, I feel like this right here could be the calling card for coaching 101. Like, this is what a coach does. And the fact that you were able to work through that and to know that things are good the way they are. There's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be something, but it doesn't need to be right now. And if you are content, I feel like that is the goal, is to be content and to be happy with the way that things are going. And if you are on your operation, or you're in your relationships and you're in your family and you don't feel that, then yeah, let's work through, like, how do we become Kacee Bohle? How do we not have to set these goals, right? Like, this can be your slogan from now on. Like, how can you become Kacee Bohle?
Well, how can you become your version of Kacee, right? Like, and I think a lot of it has to do with all of the mindset work that I've done, right? Like, I've gone through 5 rounds of facilitating AGRIMINDS. And every single time we go through that, I'm not just teaching other people or coaching other people. I'm taking nuggets back and refreshing and reminding myself, right? And so it's like I'm constantly in this state of awareness, evaluating, and shifting mindsets. I haven't always been this way, but something my grandpa used to always say, and now my dad's starting to say it all the time, is don't fix it if it ain't broke.
I love that. I love a good grandpa-ism or dad-ism. They're always, you always kind of laugh at them and you're like, okay, grandpa. But then once you hit the certain age, you're like, that almost makes sense to me now.
I need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. You can help support the stories of women in agriculture to be shared through the Rural Woman podcast on Patreon. What is Patreon? It's a membership-based platform that helps fund and support creators like me to create and produce content like this that you all love. New to the Rural Woman Podcast Patreon is ad-free listening and patron-only bonus content and exclusive episodes. Learn more and join the patron gang today at patreon.com/The Rural Woman Podcast. I want to talk about financial stress in farming because obviously that is something that I feel as though almost every farmer has dealt with or is currently dealing with. Financial stress is major. How does financial coaching play a role into your clients' operations? Everything I'm assuming is just so individual, but some basic overview would be helpful.
Yeah. So I didn't get into financial coaching for a reason, right? Like, I don't want to just work with you on your numbers. I'm not even a numbers gal. I wanted to talk about the psychology behind the financials, right? So where is this stress coming from, right? It must be some sort of money mindset, right? Because money is neutral. Money itself is not good or bad. It is not happy or sad, right? Money doesn't have feelings. Money doesn't have control. It's how you feel about the money that's the kicker here. So I got into financial coaching so that way I got certified in financial coaching so I could then take that knowledge and plug it into this life coaching that I do. And so there are a lot of conversations that I have around money. And like you said, every single conversation, whether it's in my group coaching or one-on-one, is very different. Everyone's got a different perspective, but what it usually comes down to is mindset. And it usually comes down to, what does this mean to everything else? It's scarcity is what it is. Lack of money means blah, blah, blah. Right. And so I have to shift it and help people work through, I want this so that I can have X, or I want to do this so that I can feel this, right? Like, so there's this so that in there that I don't think many people answer. And so they are feeling stressed because it's unknown. And I think when we start there, that usually starts to put some puzzle pieces together. But it is, right? It's all unknown. When we don't know, we're feeling insecure, we're feeling scared, we're feeling incompetent, right? There's so many feelings that are associated. And everybody says there's no place for feelings in farming, right? No, right? Like, it is feelings driven, right? And so talk to me about where the stress is coming from. Usually it comes down to some scarcity or some kind of negative connotation that comes with lack, right? And so again, those conversations are very different.
Right. And I just think, agriculture has so many unknowns in it, right? There's the economy, there's markets, there's disease, there's global pandemics that all will play a role in your operation and finances. And when you say money is neutral, for me, that almost feels like a relief, right? It's not all of the answers. We don't have all of the answers. And as much as we try, we never will have all of the answers because there's so many outside factors in what we do. But having those kind of grounding pieces of being like, money is neutral, we will figure it out. We figured it out before. I feel like that makes me feel a little bit more at ease about those tough conversations.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just not my opinion. I mean, we could even look at it through a biblical aspect, right? Like, the foundational book says the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is not evil, right? Like, it tells us money is a thing. It doesn't do anything. It's the person with the money or the feeling about the money, right? And another coach of mine that I've worked with in the past shared with me this analogy around a train station. and how like your mind is a train station, and each train at the train station is a feeling, and each car on the train is like a subcategory. Like you could be angry, and then it could be like levels of angry, right? And so like you are in charge of the train station. If you want to jump on the scared or the mad train, you can, and you can ride that train for as long as you want. You can move through the cars, you can go to the degree of that feeling however deep you want to, but at any given moment it's your choice to say, I'm jumping off this train and I'm jumping on a new one, and this is how I'm going to decide to move forward, right? This is what I'm going to feel now. You get to decide what that feeling is. And if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out or Inside Out 2, they are phenomenal kid shows, but I'm telling you, they're deep, deep movies. And on Inside Out 2, they talk about like belief systems, and it's like how this is where this is formed from. And there's science behind like the neural pathways and the things that we've believed over and over again. It's this well-worn gravel road of like, this is the path that's just been well-worn. You have to choose to get off of that road and pave a new path and believe a new thing and feel a new feeling and associate that with the thing that you're working towards. It's going to be hard. It's uncomfortable and it's foreign. And we're going to want to jump back onto the comfortable road that we know where it goes and we know what that path is going to be like. But if you truly want to change, if you truly want to believe something different, you have to choose that, right? And you are in charge of that, nobody else.
I love that. Okay, we've talked about all of the things. We've talked about feelings. We've talked about business. We've talked about money. We've talked about leadership. We've talked about all of the things that you as a coach do. You have developed a coaching experience for farmers. Can you talk about the AGRIMINDS program and what that is all about and what it entails?
Yeah, I mean, it truly is an experience, right? Like I call it a coaching and training program, but I love the term experience because that's truly what it is. So AGRIMINDS, again, came from my own need and desire for something like this. And I saw that there wasn't really anything like it out in the industry. And there's still not. I mean, there's other programs that's come about, but nothing truly like this. So what I've done is I've taken all of the different courses and certifications and programs that I have gone through, along with my own personal experience, and combined them into a program of key topics. So throughout 12 weeks, we will cover as a group, this is a group program, we will cover certain topics such as mindset, leadership, work-life balance, habits, goal setting, all the things. And what's really cool is we're together for an hour and a half, one time a week for 12 weeks. But part of that hour and a half is dedicated to me either training or coaching or facilitating conversation around that specific topic. And then the remaining time of that session is dedicated to the mastermind, right? Like, so AGRIMINDS, right? That's what the minds part is you're coming together as a group. You've got peers who understand what you're going through. You can help each other by bringing resources, support, accountability, just somebody to talk to that's not your spouse or a family member or even a friend. Because again, we want to find somebody who's not mentally, physically, financially impacted by our decisions, right? And a lot of the times the people in the program are having a roadblock. And I don't want to say issue because I feel like that's negative, but there is a roadblock, and it usually has something to do with a family member, a coworker, or somebody that they're working with close by. So these are people that you probably will never have experienced a relationship with had you not been in this program, right? Like these are people that you're probably going to connect with that you didn't even know existed, nor will you maybe never meet them in your life. I don't know. But it's really cool because you get this group of strangers, and it's a small group, but it's a group of strangers that somehow know exactly what you're going through and are only here to help you work through it. And it is truly an experience. It is truly transformational. Both men and women have been through the program. And the age group has been, I think the youngest person that's been in has been 24. And the eldest person in the group, I think she was just about to turn 64. And it's been so cool because it's not like, okay, if you're from this age to this age, or if you're a man or if you're a woman. No, it's literally if you've been in the ag industry or if you're related to the industry in some way, this is probably going to teach you something. It's for anybody, but the ag twist is that most of the scenarios and most of the people are related to the industry because of their job or because, that's what they know. Right. So it's really, truly something really cool.
Right. And I love that, you've taken all of that you've learned plus your personal experience in the industry and that group mentality of, like you said, these people have no skin in the game on your operation. They're just going to share with you their lived experience, and you might be able to pull something from there that can help you with yours. And I know as a person who didn't grow up this way, the agriculture industry is like no other. And for there to be programs out there designed for us, I always feel like that's a special privilege because for so long, people felt othered, people felt isolated in their rural way of living and the way they ran their business, the relationships that they had with extended family. Having something that's designed for you, I think, to me, it feels really special.
Yeah, it is so cool. And, again, I don't want to put boxes around things, right? Like all the other programs or organizations, it's like, okay, either it's a state program. So like Indiana's blah, 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 or women in blah, blah, blah. Right. And I didn't want that. I wanted a program that was just like, listen, we're neutral in those areas. This is just truly a personal and professional development program that's just going to help you. And you can take it back home to your personal life, and it can apply to your professional life, whether that's a business, whether that's an employee, whatever role, like it can be applied to so many things. And I just think that's what's really cool. Right. And again, it's tailored to people in ag because we talk about the common mindsets, the common conditioning, the common scenarios like succession planning, or, like that's the kind of stuff. And it's not just for farmers. We've had ranchers in there. We've had people who worked in the industry in there. So, it's not just for farmers, but most of the people that have gone through the program are farmers, and most of them have been in the Midwest, but we've had people all over the US and a couple people from Canada too. So it's just really interesting to see, especially the people who were from Canada coming into the program. Ag's not that much different up there. The things that you guys are facing are very similar to what we're facing down here in the Midwest. And it's just really cool to see. It's like, yeah, it feels like this small, really secluded industry. But at the same time, it's like somebody in Alberta and somebody in Texas can be going through the same thing, right? And so to be able to have that connection and that relatability and just know like you're not alone in this, and here's some tools and some resources that I can share with you to help you move forward. It's unlike anything else.
Absolutely. Can you share any success stories from any of your clients that, highlight the impact that you've had through coaching with them?
Yeah, I love this one. And I wish I could like find a way to just pick, here's the top 5 best testimonies, but they're all so good and they're all so unique, right? But what I will say, because I try to be very respectful about the people who join, because a lot of the times I don't want other people to know they're in the program. And so there's some confidentiality that comes with that. But what I will say is the things that people come out of the program are usually around clarity and confidence, right? They're feeling like, oh, okay, here's what I need to do to get through the hurdle, or here's what I want to do to take things up a level, or here's the clarity that I needed in order to feel good about the decisions I'm making, which leads to confidence, right? Like now I know like this is the track I'm supposed to be on. This is how I'm supposed to be doing this, and this, right? So clarity and confidence are usually the most common like keyword outcomes. But I've had a couple of people say, like one person said, you saved my marriage. Like, I didn't come into this because I wanted to work on my marriage. I came into this because I am a male who is managing an equipment dealership, and I wanted to learn about leadership, and I wanted to know how to best serve my team. When actually, like, one of the most powerful things he learned is, oh my gosh, communication can apply not just as a leader at an equipment dealership, but I can communicate with my wife in a more effective way. And he's like, I think you saved my marriage. Like, that probably was one of the biggest, like, oh my gosh, this is so rewarding moments, because it's not just jobs that I'm trying to help with. It's not just burnout. It's literally lives that I am helping impact. And that's the craziest thing. It's so wild that I get to do this.
Right. And honestly, such a rewarding thing to have somebody say those things, right? And for them to put, what you're teaching them into action and to have it in their everyday lives, just not at work, but at home too. So cool. I have some final questions to ask you here. What's one small but powerful mindset shift you wish more people in agriculture could embrace?
Ooh, I have to just give one.
It could be a couple. Yeah. I won't judge you.
I wish that more people thought for themselves. And I'm so guilty of this, because I thought I needed to follow in my dad's footsteps or else I failed, right? Like, if you didn't listen to the part 1 of this episode, go do that. But I thought that I failed if I didn't do what I had originally set out to do, right? And like the shift of thinking, okay, this is the expectation I thought my dad expected of me and what I should be going and doing. And then I got really real with myself and saying, but what do I actually want? And shifting that mindset and being okay with changing my mind was so relieving and empowering. And I just wish more people would say, what do I want? Not what does my spouse want? What does my mom and dad want? What does my boss want? But like, what do I truly want to experience? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? Just asking yourself those questions and then shifting to actually doing something about it. Like, those are the mindset shifts of like, okay, that's a nice to have versus this is what I'm working towards. And like actually taking action and shifting your mindset to believing that you're fully capable of doing whatever it is that you're called to do, because you were called to do it and you are fully capable of doing that and trusting that, right? That's what I wish more people would do.
I'm with you. And I honestly, I'm hearing that. And even knowing like, it's okay to change your own mind, to know that if what you thought you wanted didn't work out and you found something that's going to work better for you, or, you've discovered that this is not exactly what you thought it was, it's okay to change your mind on that too and move towards those pieces that put the whole puzzle together.
Yeah, changing your mind. Oh, yeah. I mean, every day you're taking in new information, and it would be silly to think you've gathered new information and it didn't change your perspective and it didn't alter what you thought or believed about something, right? Like, and that we have 70,000 thoughts on average a day. And to think that none of those thoughts are going to challenge us to move us in a different direction would be crazy. So yeah, giving yourself permission to change your mind is like, could be so huge.
Absolutely. Any insight or any words of wisdom that you want to give to somebody who's listening, who maybe feels overwhelmed and stuck right now in the egg industry? What words of wisdom do you want to leave them with?
I would love to just, one, sit with you in person and put my arm around you and let you know, like, I hear you, right? Like, I am not here to say you're doing it wrong or this needs to change. If you're feeling overwhelmed or if you're feeling stuck, again, I just want to ask you, like, where do you think this is coming from? Is this an outside extrinsic noise that is, making you think that what you're doing is wrong or that you're stuck? Or are you like me and you're actually good, but you have this outside influence or pressure making you think you need to be doing something different? So I'd like to ask you that, right? Of where do you think this is coming from? Is this actually something that you're struggling with, or are outside influences making you think you should be struggling with it? And there's a big difference, and it's really hard to tell the difference, but there is a difference there. So my words of wisdom is just to ask yourself, what do you believe is true? What is it that you want? Where do you want to go with things? And start there and see if that helps you answer what you should be doing next.
Kacee, I feel the collective, we felt your arm come around us with that. And all of the wisdom and information that you've shared with us, truly can't thank you enough. The last question that I ask everyone on the podcast is, what's the most rewarding part about being a rural woman for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. The most rewarding part about being a rural woman for me. Man, I don't know anything other than this. And so it's hard to compare or know like, oh, this is good or bad, right? This is all I've ever known. I've only ever known being a woman out in the middle of nowhere. But what I would say is super rewarding is that there are people who don't know what this feels like. And it's rewarding to be the person that opens up the gate or the arms, if you will. Like you hear people talking about being a gate getter or a gatekeeper. And I feel like most of the time I'm a gate getter for people of like, come on in, like the water is fine. I don't know if you're going to stay here with me. I don't know if you even enjoy it here, but I'm willing to let you in on this. And I want you to experience, or at least know, that this lifestyle is so freaking cool, right? Like at the end of the day, we can talk about all the cons, right? All the bad stuff. Like we got to deal with this challenge, or here's this obstacle, or here's this crap that we have to deal with. But at the end of the day, like what a freaking blessing to be in this position. Like I am so blessed to experience nature being out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm so blessed to not have to have people all up in my business. I'm blessed to be able to have opportunities, to be able to vote, to be able to have a voice at the table, to be accepted. And I know that not always, but the majority of the time I am. And that's freaking cool. And I'm just trying to look on the bright side of things. It's like, there's a lot of really cool things. There's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of people who are willing to support you. There's a lot of people out there who understand you and only want what's best for you. And it's rewarding to know that I can be a part of that experience for somebody else.
Very cool. Kacee, it has been my absolute pleasure getting to talk to you today. For the listeners who would like to learn more about you or your coaching programs and your offerings, where can they find you online?
So I spend most of my time either on Instagram at Ag Coach Kacee. I do have a professional business page on Facebook, Ag Coach Kacee, and then I'm also on LinkedIn under Kacee Bohle. And I'm actually in the midst of getting a website revamp. I've hired another rural agribusiness person who specializes in websites. So again, just supporting our own here. She's in the midst of revamping my website, which is just kaceebohle.com. So feel free to go look at it now. And hopefully by the time this episode airs, it will be nice and shiny.
Perfect. And I love that. And I will put all of those links in the show notes so people can find you and connect with you. Kacee, thank you again for sharing your story and your wisdom with us today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer. A special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story. Did you know that you can get this same great episode of the Rural Woman Podcast ad-free? I get it. Listening to ads during a podcast isn't always my favorite either. But in order to keep the lights and coffee pot on here at the Rural Woman Podcast Studios, they are necessary. I am so grateful to each and every one of my sponsors, but if you yourself would like to skip the ads while supporting the show, consider joining me over on Patreon. Patrons of the Rural Woman Podcast get ad-free episodes starting at Tier 5 on their podcast player of choice each week, plus some other great benefits. Find out more by heading to the link in today's show notes to learn how you can become a patron through Patreon.